Martin, you think ahead to what we're going to hear tonight. I want to talk a little bit about the iPhone 15, since we should get some indication of how the early release went. What are you expecting?
Yeah, I think based on iPhone 15 performance so far, some of the data points we are seeing is they have underperformed in China in the first 4 weeks, but they have remained very healthy in North America and Europe, both up year over year versus the last product cycle. And given the size of the market, we believe that iPhone overall is still pretty stable, if not healthy, into the holiday season.
And I want to talk a little bit about Qualcomm earnings, since we got that yesterday after the close. Of course, Qualcomm is the largest seller of smartphone chips. They gave a pretty rosy forecast. They specifically pointed to China bouncing back. What can we extrapolate out from Qualcomm into what we're going to hear tonight from Apple?
Yeah, I think there are two things. One is the signal from Qualcomm is probably stronger as a positive signal for overall Android OEMs coming out of China, where they have a more concentrated new model releases into the holiday season this year. And secondly, it is a indirect confirmation that Apple is at least stable for the December quarter.
Now, you think about the price hikes we've seen over at Apple for certain products here, and when you think about the feed-through effect and what that means for consumers potentially still really strapped by inflation and the ability to invest in new products, what do you think the net effect will be over time?
Yeah, I think comparing to Android phones, iPhone is still a very compelling value proposition and long-term value. When you think about number one, when you buy a new phone, most of the mobile carriers are offering very generous trading and installment plans. And secondly, iPhone compared to Android phones has far superior long-term value. So in 2 to 3 years, when you trade in, the remaining value of the phone is much higher comparing to Android phones.
Now, when you think about the rest of the year as well, how important is this holiday season for Apple in what has been a challenging year to buy new products for most consumers?
Yeah, this holiday season, I think it is a very special versus last year. Last year, Apple was running into manufacturing issues in December due to shutdowns in their China factory. And this year, you not only have a more normal supply and manufacturing situation, but also a new product launching from the Mac. So I think this holiday season will be much better versus last year's.
Martin, let's talk about some of those Mac launches, because, of course, they announced that M3-powered new MacBook Pro and an iMac just this week. And you write in your notes that you are puzzled by a much shortened MacBook Pro release cycle. What's the signal there?
Yeah, I think the signal here is they're trying to address a 3-quarter long, very significant decline for MacBook sales or Mac family sales, and they were, I think, part of the reason they're launching the M3 family so early versus the last cycle is trying to invigorate the install base, because a lot of the Mac users are still on 3 to 4 year and even older MacBooks running the Intel chips.
And how much does it matter necessarily, the MacBook side of the business? Because, of course, when you think about what percentage of sales that is, it's small, and it's been getting smaller over the past few decades. How do you think about that family in the broader constellation of everything Apple?
Sure, I think a Mac family of products is absolutely essential for Apple in the very long term. When we think about two things, one is really a computing architecture based on Apple silicon chips, and they will converge with the phone. That means a lot of the productivity apps, programming apps, as well as video games will be run more smoothly in between the two platforms. And Mac as a platform is crucial for developing a lot of those applications for other Apple platforms. And second thing is the two platforms will converge more seamlessly. When you think about already a lot of the similarities between the tablet and MacBook, and eventually all three, the tablet, the phone, and MacBook will work exceptionally well together versus other more discrete Windows or Intel chip-based devices.
Now, Martin, you've really only seen Apple up about 36% this year. Healthy rise, but not when you look at some of the big tech giants. You've seen Amazon rise at double that rate this year. how sensitive is the stock to today's release?
Not very. So typically, the Apple stock doesn't perform, um, you know, positively on iPhone releases. So when we look at the past, maybe past decade, the phone releases as the lead indicator of stock performance isn't as strong, and sometimes they're negative. So I wouldn't really call a stock performance based on the December earnings as well as recent product announcements.